Hi. For today's discussion, we're going to focus on Indo-China Peninsula. Now, the reason why we focus on this area, because it has been frequently in news multiple times. The primary cause, as most of you would have read in your newspaper, is the conflict over an important heritage site at the border between Thailand and Cambodia. So that site is Priyavi here. So this has has a historical root in the early 20th century when a treaty was signed between the French Empire and parts of Thailand. So after that, on the ownership of temple, several times there has been appeals and then disputes in the International Court of Justice. And finally, the ICJ clearly declared that this heritage site should be part of Cambodia, but still, Thailand was not very happy with this ruling. So if you've been reading newspapers for the last few days, you would have seen that the conflict, the border tension between Thailand and Cambodia has escalated. Always remember, the news article is one part, but rather than getting lost in too many details in the news, you have to focus on what could be a possible question in the final exam. Okay, so if you look at questions which come from the final exam, come in the final exam, it is about countries bordering seas. It's about countries being landlocked. It's about countries having different types of neighbors. So today's discussion, as it is an important area and most likely negotiations would continue on the border tensions between Thailand and Cambodia, we are going to focus on what is the presence of the borders in this region. So let me start from Thailand and Cambodia itself. So Thailand is a very important country in this region when it comes to connectivity and borders, because this single country has borders with four other neighbors. The first one being Burma or Myanmar. The second one is the only landlocked country in the Indo-China Peninsula. Always keep that in mind. So that is Laos. And after Laos, we have the present conflict with Cambodia. You have this border right here. And this is where you have the conflicts on the Priya Vihar temple, which is a mountainous terrain. And after that, we have the fourth bordering country of Thailand, that is Malaysia. Many times when students prepare for the exam, they always forget that Malaysia has two parts. One segment of Malaysia is on the island of Borneo, where it is sharing borders with Brunei and then Indonesia. But as all of you know, the peninsula's name itself is Malay Peninsula, at the tip of which is Singapore. So if you look at the position of Thailand, okay, fixate on this particular position, it looks like a large T here, right? Or a tree, literally. Tree branching out, right? And that is having borders not just in the north and northeast, but also a border with Malaysia. So the four countries which border Thailand includes Malaysia, Burma, Laos, and then finally Cambodia. Now, look at the position of Laos. Keep that in mind. Even though Laos is a smaller country and it's a landlocked country, it's an important point for transits, because Laos again borders four countries. You have Burma towards one side, you have Thailand towards one side, you have Cambodia on the other side, and then you also have Vietnam. Now, I know that you are thinking about China. Well, there is border with China also. It is very much true. And keep that in mind. When we study an area, we want to focus and understand the interrelationship within this area. And lastly, if you take Vietnam, Vietnam is mostly towards the eastern side and it's spindle shaped. Vietnam. So just like a V, which is floating right there, is spindle shaped. And keep that in mind. There are three important water bodies based on which you can get questions. The first and the most frequent one in terms of news is your South China Sea. The second is your Gulf of Thailand, which is present right here. And the third one is your Andaman Sea. And north of Andaman Sea is where you have your Burma or Myanmar. So now to simplify, we are going to take this portion of Indo-China Peninsula and understand with reference to borders using circles. Keep that in mind. We are not going to concern ourselves too much with countries which are beyond your Indo-China Peninsula. The idea is the size of the circle is going to be bigger if the country has more number of borders in this region. That's just so its importance for transit. So take Thailand. Thailand shares borders with four countries, right? So that is why we have Thailand having a larger circle. Think about Laos again. We are leaving out China in this discussion. Laos also had border with 4 countries. Clear? And now for Cambodia. Fine. If you take Cambodia, Cambodia has border with 3 countries. It borders Thailand, it borders Laos, it also borders Vietnam. So we want to draw a circle, but maybe something smaller, not as big as that, maybe something smaller. So right here is Cambodia. Yeah, there you go. That's Cambodia for you. And lastly, we had Vietnam here. Again, leaving out the border with China, want to focus only on the Indochina Peninsula. You will see that Vietnam borders Laos and Cambodia, so it's right here. It is even a smaller circle because there's only 2 countries. There you go. So that is Vietnam for you. Fine. And lastly for Myanmar. Myanmar does border India. Very well aware, Myanmar does border China also. But that's not the point of our discussion. Again for Indochina Peninsula. If you remember, Myanmar borders Thailand. At the same time, Myanmar bordered Laos. So again, 2 countries by the shape of Vietnam right here. Now, why are we drawing it here? Just to instill in our mind that Thailand does not have border with China. Myanmar and Laos will block the access to China. And lastly, we have that one small country, the country which is bordering only Thailand. So there is only one, the value. So you're going to draw an extremely smaller circle. That country, as all of you know, is Malaysia. Fine. So the purpose of the diagram is only to instill in our mind within Indochina Peninsula who has the greater chances of transit, and this will help us to give more weightage also, and this is more of a visual representation of understanding the border density, keeping other countries outside so that we understand one region clearly. So to repeat and go back to the same thing, so Thailand borders 4, Laos borders 4, Cambodia borders 3 in this region, Vietnam borders 2 in this region, Myanmar borders 2 in this region, and then Malaysia is 1. So look at the map one more time. So here we go. Thailand bordered 4 countries. We had Burma, Laos, Malaysia, Cambodia. One set. Next is Laos. Laos borders Thailand, Burma, Cambodia, Vietnam. See that we're keeping China outside for greater understanding of this region. Then Myanmar bordered Thailand, bordered Laos, only in this region. It does have access to China, does have access to India, but we're not concerned about that. It has 2 countries when we study this. Next, coming to Cambodia, the reverse is true. Vietnam, Thailand, and then Laos. And then finally coming to Vietnam, you have that a circle for Laos, and then there is a border with Cambodia also. And lastly, if you would remember, we have a small tip, and this is connected to Thailand. So that is why we use that circular diagram. So whenever you have studied an area, you can use this method. Only for that selective area, you can see, have I understood my borders correctly? Now, before we close, I just want to tell you, beyond questions on political map, they can ask you about rivers meeting sea also. So just to wrap it up, we'll just review the major rivers in this area. So as I've told you, there are 3 major water bodies. So one side we have South China Sea, here we have the Gulf of Thailand, and here we have the Andaman Sea. So 2 major rivers in this region towards your Andaman Sea are your rivers Irrawaddy and Salween. So you have Irrawaddy in Myanmar and Salween starting from parts of China. There we go. So this is Irrawaddy, which flows into Andaman Sea. Keep it in mind for your prelims examination. After Irrawaddy, we have Salween. Salween originates in parts of China, moves towards Myanmar, and then the border between Myanmar and Thailand, and then finally enters into Andaman Sea. So that's number 2. And the third and most important river, which all of you would prepare in the final examination, is Mekong. Mekong is the longest river in Indochina Peninsula. It starts in Tibet, which is controlled by China today, and then travels through every single country before it is entering not into Andaman Sea, but towards your South China Sea. That river is Mekong. And lastly, within Thailand, we have a river here. That river is Chao Phraya, and that river enters into Gulf of Thailand. So here we go. That is your map of Thailand showing your Gulf of Thailand, where we have the river Chao Phraya flowing through. So that is your 4 major rivers which are required for your prelims examination. So I will close the discussion with this question. There is this popular saying, what you focus on determines what you miss. So in this entire discussion, we are focusing on countries in Indo-China Peninsula. But the question I given is regarding Myanmar's borders. And I have gone beyond your Indo-China Peninsula. Question says, consider the following countries: China, Bangladesh, Laos, and Thailand. How many of the above countries border Myanmar? Only one, only two, only three, and all four. So you can leave the answer in the comment section below. See you soon with one more part of the world. Bye for now.